Welcome everybody to the Soulpreneur Secrets podcasts and presentations. And I am beyond excited to introduce you to Dr. Jude Currivan. Now, obviously, you can go and Google her and find out all about her. I'm going to give you just a little tiny bit of some of the things that really grab my attention. So, Jude, you're a cosmologist, a futurist. You've got a PhD in archaeology, which is about ancient cosmology. You've got a master's from Oxford in cosmology and quantum physics. But before all that, you had an international corporate career as a group finance director, which means that you're also an expert on the global economic and financial systems. And you all started off as a miner's daughter. I love it. I love it. And there was one quote on your website that I would love to just say, everybody. In the commonality of our humanity, we are all ordinary. And in the commonality of our divinity, we are all extraordinary. I absolutely love that quote. And I just want to say as well that you are a prolific author, and I have got one of your books. So thank you and welcome so much to this podcast.
I'm delighted, Deborah. We met very briefly, and it's just an opportunity, as we were saying before we came on, to get to know each other a little bit. And I'm really delighted for us to be able to do this.
Thank you. Yeah, because we don't know each other at all, do we?
Not really.
Other than that, that instant, oh, you look interesting. So yeah, I'm just, I don't even know where to start. I think what it was we met at a conference, didn't we? And I say to people, it was like a spiritual scientists conference, because everybody there was really a scientist, wasn't they? But they were all talking about science in a sort of spiritual context, or spirituality in a scientific context. And I'm very much a scientist and do spiritual. So, but you said something during your talk. You talked about astrology, and I was like, okay, this is somebody I really want to get to know. So tell me a little bit about your interest in astrology.
Well, it was a natural interest, Deborah, because from very, very early age, literally when I was 4 years old, I became aware that the appearance of our universe was not its soul or deeper reality. So I began to have engagements with realms and levels of intelligence and experience and existence far beyond this sort of physical plane. So from a very young age, I've been and continue to walk between worlds. And when I was growing up, I was fascinated by, obviously I was having a great time with those experiences, but I was fascinated by two great streams of wisdom. One was ancient wisdom, and ancient Egypt, ancient India, ancient China, as well as ongoing indigenous wisdom, because all of these, it seemed to me, were expressing the nature of reality as I was experiencing it. And so for me, they were my teachers, my direct experiences, and those wisdom teachings were my teachers.
Wow.
And I was also fascinated by science as a way of exploring. And at the same time, I was very conscious that what science was discovering was not in alignment with what I was experiencing. It was like it was a pale, it wasn't even a pale imitation or reflection. It was like the surface of the ocean, the waves on the surface of the ocean, rather than the depths of the waters beneath. So, and yet I knew it was really important because obviously, our secular society, has science as its sort of way shower in many ways, and certainly technology. And yet the science of our secular societies is not leading edge science. It's a science of the 19th century. It's a science of more than 150 years ago, even before the discoveries of the 20th century science. So I was interested to understand why that was the case. I was interested to see what leading edge science might move towards. And I was also very interested, even at that early days, of how we are with each other, how our worldview affects, it is the lens through which we see the world. And so in many ways, it's also the lens through which we experience the world and decide and make choices about the world. So here I was journeying through all these wonderful realms of a universe, of a cosmos that is innately whole, that is innately unitive. And on the other hand, I was being educated in a science of materialism and separation. Unfortunately for me, I could value both, and yet realizing that that science would at some point prove inadequate and unsustainable to our health as a species, our wholeness and health as a planetary home, and a deeper relationship with who we really are. So, long story short, that was the journey I've been on all my life. But what has been so wonderful is that now leading edge science is turning that old paradigm of materialism and separation on its head, and it's converging with those universal wisdom teachings to reveal, a living, loving, evolving universe that meaningfully evolves, meaningfully exists to purposefully evolve, and from simplicity to ever greater levels of complexity. And my strap line, other than the one you've quoted, is that mind and consciousness aren't what we have, but literally what we and the whole world are. That is the convergence now.
Would you say that again?
Right. Mind and consciousness aren't something we have. They are literally what we and the whole world are. Our universe is a great thought in the infinite mind of the cosmos. It's an intelligent, sentient entity. And we are its microcosms. We are its microcosmic co-creators, its cells, as it were, of its vast communities of life. So this understanding, which I believe invites us into an experienced sense of wholeness and an embodied sense of that wholeness, is what really invited me to appreciate the wisdom of astrology. Because in this understanding of a sentient universe, an evolving universe, our solar system is a matrix of consciousness. So naturally, that means that the archetypal intelligences of the planets and Sol and Lunar and our relationships against a background of the stars, but really as not a self-contained, because everything is inseparable, but as a matrix of evolutionary consciousness. So that's what astrology truly is. So the more I discovered of that wisdom, the more appreciative I became of it as in terms of guidance, in terms of aligning with its cycles and spirals of relationship. So astrology is a natural wisdom teaching of a unitive understanding and a unitive universe.
That's amazing. Fabulous. Because, like, we're in this incredible eclipse portal at the moment.
Yes.
And for me, Aries energy is very much about the childlike energy. It's that openness, like, oh, I just had an idea, I'm going to go and do that. And I've just been getting so many like ideas coming through. And then on Sunday, I jam with a group in the park in Manchester. We're called the Jam Tribe. We've been jamming for 3 years every Sunday in Alexander Park. And one of the women, she's used to be a primary school teacher, and she now runs something called Forever a Child. She wrote a book a few years ago, a children's book. And on Sunday, she did her first theatre performance of her book. And of course, she's built up this crowd of parents and children, and she had all the Jam tribe there. She got the local Tibetan kitchen to come along with food. It was a fabulous, fabulous celebratory event. It was the first time the theatre group had ever done a performance. So they were like, like this. And I said to her, did you know that we're in an eclipse portal all about children? She said, no.
I love it. I love it.
And I'm aware that people who are, deliberately, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? Where do I need to be? Are always aligning themselves with the astrology. They can't help it. We're integral, aren't we? So
Absolutely.
we're all living it all the time. And it then begs the question, so why do we need to understand the astrology if we are living it anyway? Why do we need to be able to interpret it?
I think it's more about being conscious that we are in this wider relationship with both a universe and a solar system, a solar family, to which with which we're inseparable, and within which we are individuated awarenesses. Yeah, microcosmic co-creators. We are that anyway. The difference is, are we aware of that? And do we consciously align with that? Or are we unaware of that? Because when we're unaware, we have really gone through, and this is without blame or shame, but it seems to not just myself, but a lot of folks, that we've been journeying through a time of forgetting. But in a way, that time of forgetting has also brought us back into this sense of self. But we've got so deep into that in that individuation of that journey, we've forgotten that we're part of the greater whole. So it seems to me that, and this is why astrology is so, for me, incredibly helpful, because it offers us an understanding of those journeys, whether it's our own, a birthday and life and all the rest of it, or whether it's on us as groups of people and literally our human psyche, our collective psyche, because we've been going through the past 2,500 years, 2,500 years, which has sometimes been called the axial age, sometimes been called the age of Pisces, which of course is astrological. But that journey has been one progressively into this perspective of individuation. But that time is coming to an end, because we've got so deep into that sense of me, and so much forgotten the we and the all, but not forgotten, but we've journeyed for a reason to this point. But we're now, it seems, waking up. And we're waking up both to the dawning of a new age. Obviously, in astrological terms, that's the age of Aquarius, but I would say it's even more profound than that, because some of us are calling it a unitive age. We're remembering wholeness, and that can extend far beyond the next 2,000 years or so of the age of Aquarius into the whole future of what humanity we can consciously evolve to become. So this is the journey, and astrology and those insights offer such clear guidance. They're not imposing on us. They're not deciding for us. They're saying this is the consciousness that's flowing through. How best can we attune and align with it for our own personal benefit and our collective benefit, our planetary benefit, our solar family benefit, and universal benefit? Because the universe, it seems to me, has an innate evolutionary impulse of which we're all part of. So astrology is a wonderful tool to help us understand that at deeper levels, and therefore experience it more healthily, more wholly at those, more holy, HOLY as well as WHOLLY at those levels.
Awesome. And it's like everything seems to be. I mean, obviously time is a weird construct anyway, but it's like everything seems to be speeding up so fast. It's like every day I look at the chart for the day and I'm like, okay, we're into the next bit now. We're into the next bit now. We're into the next bit now.
Well, what's so beautiful is both and. because we wouldn't be able to have this conversation if universal time wasn't a real thing and was invariant. In other words, we can now go back 13.8 billion years to the beginning of our universe, the birth of our universe, the birth of the space-time of our universe. And so although, you know, Einstein, one of my great heroes, taught us, help us understand that time is relative to an observer, space is relative to an observer. His great genius wasn't that, in my view. It was going beyond that and realizing that they had to come together as space-time, which is invariant. So when we look at an event in space-time, not just in space or just in time, but space-time, wherever we are, whenever we are, we'll actually be able to observe and describe the same event. So that means that our universe of space-time has both an arrow of time from past to present to future. It is invariant. In other words, when you take it down to its tiniest level, called the Planck scale, each moment of the Planck scale, as time flows and space expands, enables our universe to embody and experience more and more and more information, more and more and more consciousness, cosmic consciousness, universal consciousness, our consciousness, all of it. So that time doesn't vary. You know, we measure it as seconds, but we could measure it in flippity gibbets. It doesn't matter. Every flippity gibbet within the universe is the same. And so that journey has taken place for 13.8 billion years to this point. That's why we can talk about astrology, because those cycles are allied, are part of universal time. And yet our subjective experience of time can change. Einstein once said, you know, he made this analogy. If you're sitting on a hot oven, a second seems like an hour. If you're speaking to a pretty girl, in his case, an hour seems like a second. That's relativity. But the point is, that's subjective experience. Yeah, it's not universal time, and it's both and. Isn't it beautiful that it's both and? You know, sol rises at a certain time. That time doesn't matter whether we're asleep or awake or we're whatever we are. And yet when we come into our waking experience, if we're focused like a child, this is what I love. Children are so focused. If they're doing what they're doing, you know, everything else it's not there. So our subjective experience of time is just so precious and so wonderful. And both that universe has its own absolute invariant time of which we're a part.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. Yes, and of course, you know, that childlike energy of being just in the now, in the present, is so Aries, isn't it? You know, it's such you know, an incredible opportunity to us, I feel, for us to really like home in. You know, it's for me, it's like when we have such a powerful astrological things, you know, coming together, when the solar system creates these little nuggets. I call them like little portals. um it's like, okay, I line myself right. What is it? What can I experience here? What opportunity am I being offered here that I can move into, that I can, whoa, I can experience some I don't have any Aries in my chart. My Aries is intercepted, got nothing. Oh, I've got Mars, but it's in Taurus, so it's not quite the same. And it's like, but my mother was an Aries, and I know lots of Aries people, and I was like, okay, it's my opportunity to experience some Aries energy. What's it like?
I love it. I love it. And, you know, perhaps we can talk a little bit more of the detail of the astrology of the eclipse, but just the eclipse, just the eclipse, you know, the sense of awe and wonder. I've experienced 4 total solar eclipses in my life and others partial and annular. But if you think about it, the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, and the sun, and yet it's 400 times closer to us. So that balancing of size and distance means the most incredible alignment that enables total eclipses. It's the only place in our solar system, our solar family, where you can see a total eclipse of our sun. It's
Mm,
extraordinary. But just that, you know, when people talk about, oh, coincidence, 400 times exactly far
mm,
away, 400 times exactly larger in their relationship. And so that's why we can have total eclipses. And everyone that I've experienced such eclipses by are almost overwhelmed by awe, by the
mm,
wonder. And with that brings humility.
mm,
It brings meaning as well, but it brings meaning and humility in my experience. And
mm.
so I loved watching the photographs from the eclipse, the 8th of April eclipse. You know, we're filming on the 9th.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, and across Mexico and the US and into Canada. And the sheer wonder and joy and awe of those millions of folks experiencing that. And the astrological essence of this eclipse in Aries, to see that childlike awe in people from toddlers to 80, 90-year-olds, all communities, all, you know, parts of that incredible mix that is the States and Mexico and Canada. That feels to me an incredible moment for us as humanity,
Mm.
because the essence of the astrology is the wake-up call. Is the wake-up call. And in Aries, it's in our deepest sense of self and childlike. It's like offering us a new beginning.
Yes. Yes. And I just love what you said, because I've got 4 granddaughters in America, and they got to see the eclipse yesterday from school, and my daughter-in-law sent me pictures of them all lying there with their goggles on. And as you said, I mean, they're little, they're 4, 5, 6 years old. The look on their faces as they were looking at this, and as you say, all the pictures that have come through and people's comments, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
People, as you say, they were, do you know what the word came to me on Sunday when I was watching that play? It's a word we all know, but nobody uses it. Spellbound.
Yes. Yes. The wonder of it, the sheer wonder of it. And it was so lovely to see the children, but it was the older folks too. It
Oh,
was, you know, it was it was just so lovely. And people experiencing together. You know,
yes.
most of the photos I saw, okay, occasionally you'd see a few folks or a couple. I never saw a single photo with just one
Mm,
person in it. It was, and the majority were groups, communities, and the variety, the diversity. And yet there's something in that experience. It's
is
about,
unitive.
it's human, it's about belonging. It
Yes.
goes beyond unity and diversity. It goes to a belonging. We're all human beings belonging to this wondrous, wondrous world.
Yes.
To remember that and to have that as a wake-up call is so wondrous at this
Mm.
time. And I think, you know, one of the beauties about astrology is the perfection of timing. So we shall see what comes forward, because we're not, you know, this is like the wake-up call to a whole series of continuing astrological events over the next couple of years, you know, from
Oh,
later in this month through to more eclipses, through to, you know, all the outer planets
yes.
moving on, changing signs, evolving in their way. So
Yes.
I think this is just wonderful.
Yes. Yes. In fact, I've just done a speaking tour of the astrology of 2024, and I was showing people how, up until January, everything was in earth and water, the outer planets, and in 2 years' time, they're all going to be in air and fire, which is going to be
Yes,
so different.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But I also, that spellbound thing, because I noticed, yeah, it's like you said, the adults were spellbound as well. And
Yes.
it's one of the things that, I do a lot of dressing up with people. I like to do astrodrama, get people to play, put hats on and clothes and get into different characters. And I say to people, this is we need to remember, we need to bring out our inner child, our wise child, our magical child, because it's our child that goes off into new imaginings and new creative realms, and go, I can do that. And I love what you said about the awe and the wonder, because it's around us everywhere. You've
Yes.
only got to look at the leaves opening on the trees
Yes.
and go, wow.
Yes. Absolutely. Solar eclipse is perhaps the most magnificent, event, and the fact that we have these eclipses twice a year, not always total, but it's like we're being reminded and rehearted and reminded and
Mm.
rehearted. And this one is so potent at this moment on that wake up. But you're right. I mean, we were going for a walk the other day, and the horse chestnut trees near us are coming open. And when we were very young, my mum used to point them out because they're sticky buds. Horse
No, what?
chestnuts,
Sorry.
sticky buds.
Oh,
The
yeah.
horse chestnut leaves are so sticky. They're amazing. It's every leaf is different on a single tree, let alone all the different trees. So actually, this sense of awe and wonder. I love earthworms. I mean, how much awesome can you get than an earthworm? I mean, honestly. Um, I fell in love with slime molds when I wrote the book, or the book wrote me, that you showed earlier, the story of Gaia. Every moment of, if we care to look and listen and open not just our minds but our
Mm.
hearts, that awe is there all the
Yeah.
time, all
Yeah.
the time.
And it brings such joy.
Yes.
It transcends all the everyday, I don't know how, like, that sort of, I don't know how, you just go and look at something beautiful and you just go, oh, yeah, okay, okay.
Absolutely. But when you said that, is that the technical term for it? Ah! But, I'm sure there are going to be folks listening to us that say, well, what about what's happening in the Middle East? What about what's happening in
Yeah.
Ukraine? And to all of us, because of course, it breaks all of our hearts, or I hope it breaks all of our hearts, because it should break all of our hearts for everyone, you know. It seems to me that all of those conflicts are outcomes of this dis-ease of separation, this perception that somehow we're separate from each other, and and seeing the world through that lens, and therefore acting through that lens. And what this is offering us as a wake-up call, as an invitation, is a remembering that we are inseparable, a remembering that each and every one, not just of humanity, but everything in existence, has meaning and purpose. If we can heal ourselves from that dis-ease, the symptoms of that dis-ease will themselves fall away. And so this is far more than just a lovely conversation. It seems to me that without this, I'm not sure what future we have. With this, not just understanding, but experiencing, embodying, what I call unitive awareness, that ushers us into, that invites us into the most incredible adventure. And to enter that adventure as children in this time of Aries, ushered, this threshold of Pluto moving into Aquarius, of this incredible solar eclipse in Aries, all of this, it seems to me, is inviting us into this incredible adventure where we can heal and we can say enough is enough when it comes to conflicts that don't serve anyone ultimately, and just continue the trauma of the illusion, because it is an illusion of separation.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I love that. So, one little thing, tell us a little bit about your astrology. What's your sun sign?
My sun is Pisces,
Me too.
my moon is Sagittarius, and my rising sign is Leo.
Fabulous. Water and fire mix.
Oh yeah, it can be steamy if it's not properly dealt with. So it took quite a lot of my life to sort of realize the balance. And I've got Jupiter and Saturn in opposition, which again, for a long my life, I thought was very challenging. But I'm so grateful, because I dance with both of them as partners. The three of us dance together. So I know the perfection of timing. And I have the patience, the proactive patience to appreciate that. And I also know that when the time's right, the expansion will happen. So the dance, I literally, you know, after many, many, many years, I'm so grateful for that dance. And I, you know, I've helped folks, as you have, Deborah, you know, for with their astrology for many, many years. I don't do that individually anymore, personally anymore, because of course they're the same patterns that play out collectively. So for me, our collective astrology is what helps me to help serve, I hope, transformational change and healing and conscious evolution in the world. But astrology is so important and central to that ability to serve the
Do you
good of
think
the
it's
whole.
something that would be a wise thing, excuse me, to teach in schools?
I do. It's a bit like, for me, it's a bit like gardening, in the sense that as a gardener, I know it's a lifelong journey and I'm learning all the time. And, you know, I don't have to be a professional gardener, but I do know that when I plant my seeds in the springtime and they come up and I'm so happy, 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 I can have a much deeper relationship with my, you know, not my land, but the land that I'm privileged
Yeah.
to have as home. And so I've got a level of understanding and I love it and I'm guided by it. I'm not a professional gardener equally, although I have, I suppose to some degree, I am a professional astrologer, but no, that's not my central, but it's critical. But I think everybody knowing something, even if
Yeah.
it's only knowing their sun sign, their lunar sign, and their rising sign, even just knowing that adds a level rather than just knowing their sun sign. So, you know, we talk about star sign, you and I know it's not, it's our sun sign, but that's just our outward. Unless we know our inward lunar and the path we journey through life as our ascendant, those three for me, everybody to know those in their life and their earth walk is so important.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Because I'm about next week to start teaching my second version of my Star Wisdom astrology course, where I've condensed the astrology into just 10 lessons.
Fabulous. And, you know, for somebody to take that course, you know, unless they're really, really wanting to go deeper, is probably enough, because that will then enable them to be able to hear incredible folks like yourself and other great astrologers. I've just had the joy of doing a double podcast with Pam Gregory and Sandy
Oh,
Sedgebear, and the three of us in conversation was so joyous. And there's another lovely teacher called Martha Alter Hines, who also is really appreciating this wake-up call and this opportunity that the astrological archetypes, our solar family, are journeying with us at this incredible evolutionary moment. So, you know, to know enough that folks can hear what you have to say and these other amazing astrologers have to say, I think is so, so helpful.
fabulous. Thank you. You know, this is, oh, honestly, I feel like I need to listen to this again myself several times to go, oh yeah, 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 yeah. That was absolutely incredible. I know we've only just scratched the surface, but what you shared with us has just been so powerful and so beautiful and so awesome.
It truly is awesome, isn't it? I mean, whenever my jaw drops quite a bit at times like this, but it is so wonderful. And thank you, Deborah, for all that you're doing and this opportunity to share. And yes, and realize that this is the invitation of our universe at these incredible times of change. And for us to do that together, you know, to link up and lift up together is so glorious. So I send my love and for everyone on the course and for the jam sessions and for the theatre groups. And may we play as children and may we co-create as children together and enter this new, hopefully unitive age as children with that wonder, with that awe, with that humility, with that joy, and above all, with that love. So thank you.
Thank you.
Bless you.